Hello. We're Pianis. At the 19th Chopin International Piano Competition to be held in October 2025. There's a brand new required piece in the final in addition to the traditional concerto choice. Piano Concerto No. 1 Opus 11 or Piano Concerto No. 2 Opus 21. Polonaise-Fantasy Opus 61 has been added as a compulsory work for every finalist. This turns the final into a two-part program. A solo piece, the Polonaise-Fantasy, plus a piano concerto. In this video, we'll dig into the Polonaise-Fantasy. What kind of piece is it? We'll explore its background and form, compare it with the heroic Polonaise, and look at how great pianists have approached it. This work looks set to be a decisive factor in who takes the top prize. Stick with us to the end. On this channel, we share news about famous international piano competitions and support Japanese pianists. If that sounds interesting, please consider subscribing. The Polonaise-Fantasy Opus 61 is a late masterpiece by Fryderyk Chopin. From 1839 to 1846, when he parted from his partner George Sand, Chopin spent 7 summers at the house in Nohant. Nohant lies in central France, and it was the paternal family home of George Sand. For Chopin, it was a kind of safe haven away from the tangled social scene, a creative atelier where he could escape the bustle of Paris and compose in peace. The Polonaise-Fantasy was written during his last summer at Nohant. Chopin was 36 that year. That same year he also wrote the Barcarolle, and together these became his final large-scale solo works, ranked among the very finest in his entire output. Around this time his health was poor, and his relationship with George Sand is said to have been strained. As the title Polonaise-Fantasy suggests, the piece fuses the form of the Polish dance polonaise with the free spirit of a fantasy to create something original. Chopin initially conceived it under the title Fantasy, so rather than a strict dance, he followed a free imagination. In practice, the traditional bold polonaise rhythm only appears in fragments. The architecture leans more toward a fantasy, and the music unfolds like a wandering dream. For first-time listeners it can feel elusive. And that elusiveness is exactly why the title Polonaise-Fantasy fits. Chopin wrote 18 polonaises in total, including posthumous pieces. Among them, the Polonaise-Fantasy Opus 61 holds a singular place. Chopin died at 39, but if he'd lived longer, the Polonaise-Fantasy might have marked the beginning of a new style for him. A frequent point of comparison is Opus 53, the Heroic Polonaise, a signature work from 1842 celebrated for its pounding octave passages and its brilliant character as a symbol of his patriotism. By contrast, the Polonaise-Fantasy is from 1846, later in his life, and while it's no smaller in scale than the Heroic, it favors inner drama over outward dazzle. Where the Heroic Polonaise opens with a bold fanfare, sustains a high-spirited arc, and drives forward with passion, the Polonaise-Fantasy begins with a quiet introduction, and builds emotion gradually from within. In short, the heroic reaches outward, and the Polonaise-Fantasy turns inward. Its typical performance time is about 12 to 13 minutes, long and structurally rich. The Polonaise-Fantasy demands exquisite control of tone color and a poetic sense, so interpretations can vary dramatically from pianist to pianist. One pianist who helped spread its stature is Arthur Rubinstein. Rubinstein's playing has been praised as a consistently virile, full-bodied interpretation that's deeply satisfying, establishing a powerful and healthy image of Chopin. At the same time, he brought deep affection and empathy to this music, gently drawing listeners into its inner depths with real poetry. Within that muscularity, he shaded in moments of darkness, bringing out Chopin's hidden anguish and chiaroscuro. By contrast, Maurizio Pollini is known for clarity of structure and unshakable poise. His approach is sharply defined and resolute, eschewing local color for a lucid, strong line. In the Polonaise-Fantasy, he avoids excessive romantic rubato, and renders the notated structure with precision. The Polonaise-Fantasy is often counted among the most difficult of Chopin's works. Song Jin-cho, winner of the 2015 edition 2 competitions ago, has named the Ballade No. 4, the Polonaise-Fantasy, and the 24 Preludes as particularly demanding among Chopin's works. In reality, beyond the sheer technical demands, what makes it hard is that finger dexterity alone won't carry it. It requires musical maturity. There are brilliant passages and ferocious octave strokes. So yes, there's showy technique, but even more crucial is the extreme range of tempo and dynamics. You have to command everything from the most delicate pianissimo to a mature fortissimo, switching among a wide palette of touches. As noted, its structure is complex, with seemingly abrupt scene changes, so a performer's sense for reconstructing the overarching narrative is constantly tested. The great Martha Argerich has remarked that it isn't easy for young pianists to play this piece. At competitions, relatively few contestants dare to choose it. Yet precisely because it's so tough, a convincing performance earns the highest esteem, so it's both a showcase for the pianist, and a trial by fire that reveals true artistry. The final is going to be thrilling. At the 19th Chopin International Piano Competition, the Polonaise-Fantasy has been added as a mandatory work in the final. The Polonaise-Fantasy is a spacious, free-late work that tests both architectural command and poetic imagination. Great pianists have taken very different routes through it, and in the final the contestants' storytelling will be the key. That's all for now. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. If you'd like to see more, don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video. We wish you a rich and fulfilling piano life.